Situated in the Caribbean, the island and archipelago of Puerto Rico was once a Spanish colony but became a territory of the United States of America in 1898. The sprawling capital city is San Juan. However, most tourists will probably head to the Old Town, located on the west side of the island, just to the north of the mainland. And this being America, we have beautiful 3D buildings in Google Earth. We will explore the Old Town, including the island's two Spanish-built defensive forts, before heading east along the coast, past the airport and out of town, before heading into El Yunque National Forest, the island's most famous national park and the only rainforest in the United States of America.
Hello, I love sandwich, jamon y queso. Who doesn't? But I also love San Juan. San Juan is the capital of Puerto Rico. I'm here in the old town. Oops, daisy. I'm here in the old town of San Juan, capital of Puerto Rico. This is Plaza Colón. And yeah, I have been here for 5 days. I just did a month back in UK to see family and friends, and I flew down here for 5 nights to see a buddy that lives here. And tonight I'm going to carry on down to Peru to continue my journeys in South America. So I just had a little stop off here. But yeah, it's been interesting. Sadly, as you can see, the weather is not on my side. The weather was actually really good here for the first few days. But yesterday and today, when I came out to do some filming, it's just been cloudy and rainy on and off. So you just have to enjoy San Juan in the clouds. Here are some pigeons. They're having a good time. Very stationary pigeons. So yeah, this is Plaza Colón. As you can see, this was clearly a old Spanish colony. And Plaza Colón is a map. Actually, the old town of San Juan, as you can see here, it's not that large. It's only about maybe 8 blocks from north to south, maybe. And it's actually on an island just off the mainland of San Juan, and has these major fortifications, Castillo, all these walls across the north, another Castillo here, castle. And at the bottom here is where the ferries come in. This is the Caribbean. By the way, I am British, so I will be saying Caribbean, not Caribbean. Sorry if you're offended by that, but I can make no apologies. Also, cannot apologize for this man. This is Cristobal Colon. This is the Spanish name for Christopher Columbus, as he is known in English. He was in fact from Genoa, I think, in Italy. Genoa was then a city-state, and back then explorers used to take on the names of all the different regions and language areas that they were traveling in. So, but this is Puerto Rico. The predominant language is Spanish, although this is a US territory, so English is very widely spoken. But yeah, there he is, Cristobal Colon. So if you know your history, you will know that he so-called discovered the New World, the Americas, back in 1492, and very quickly more conquistadores, explorers came from Spain and elsewhere in Europe on a massive land wealth power grab. And it's just started raining. Let's go over here. And in the Spanish were the first over here, so they started building their first forts and colonies, probably here in the island of Puerto Rico, and then to the west the island of Hispaniola, which is now divided between Haiti and Dominican Republic, and then further west is Cuba. So this was their kind of base of their power, and from then they explored further into Mexico and south into what is now South America and Peru. So this was also obviously a very important stop off from ships taking the trade winds from Spain across the Atlantic, and they would often do their boat repairs here and bring over ammunitions and so on from Europe, and then continue on their explorations. So, however, most of Latin America, the former Spanish colonies, gained their independence in like the 1810s, 1820s. However, here, Puerto Rico and Cuba did not. They continued to be Spanish colonies and were the last Spanish colonies until the year, I think it was 1898. By that point, the USA was growing in power and starting to flex its military might, and I think they were pushing for Cuban independence to destabilize Spain, and they had a war with Spain, which they won, and Cuba became independent, but Puerto Rico did not. It became a US territory, which it is to this day. So, with the other US territories, there's also the the US Virgin Islands to the east of here. And then in the Pacific, you have the Philippines, which is now independent, of course. That was taken by the US in the same deal. And Guam and the North Mariana Islands, also in the Pacific, are still US territories. So Puerto Rico is a US territory. It's not a US state, so it does have some independence, but they do not have voting rights in federal elections in the US. So you could arguably make the case that it's better to think of it as a separate independent country. Having been here for 5 days, it definitely doesn't feel like the US. It's, everyone speaks Spanish, and the Latino culture is much stronger here than US culture. But being the US's businesses are here, and it's, commerce seems to run very well. Anyway, with that in mind, let's have a little look around the old town here. Starting off over there with Castillo San Cristobal.
After attacks by their rivals, the English and the Dutch, the fortifications at Castillo San Cristobal were built up over hundreds of years, reaching their zenith in the late 1700s. Built to protect the west of the island from its weak points on the east of the island, Castillo San Cristobal is considered the largest Spanish-built fort in the whole of the Americas.
This is La Perla from above. I've been advised that it's possibly not somewhere you want to go filming in, but I think it's okay from up here. It's quite a good looking place, but quite a small little district, just a couple of streets. It could be said to be the most quintessential Puerto Rican place in the whole of Puerto Rico. So much so that the video for the hugely popular music video Despacito was filmed down there. And then if we continue walking west along the north coast, past these plazas, and there's a museum up there, and there's another old building which is in a state of renovation, but we will eventually come to the second big castle, Castillo San Felipe del Morro. These huge lawns that they have here are actually a defense mechanism. At the front, facing the sea, they have all the walls and fortifications and gun turrets, and on the interior they had these big lawns so that any attacking force would have to approach from here and could easily be shot at from the castle. I'm at the edge of the castle here, and from up here we can get a better sense of the geography. So ahead of us is San Juan Old Town, which is on an island just off the mainland of Puerto Rico, which you can see in the background there. If you look at my face, it's a bit dark today, I'm afraid, but you'll see it's pretty sweaty. It's also raining slightly. But yeah, it's we are in the Caribbean, so it's pretty hot, but even more so than that, the humidity is pretty intense. It feels kind of wet all the time, even when it's dry. It's currently September here, so as you can see, it is the rainy season. We are in the tropics in the northern hemisphere, so it rains a lot this time of year. It is also hurricane season. Fortunately, no hurricanes today, but a week before I arrived here, we were looking at the forecasts, and there was due to be a hurricane coming into the south of Puerto Rico when I arrived, but luckily it did not materialize. So I've been lucky, and I'm due to fly out this evening, so I will hopefully escape the hurricane. But I'm not escaping the rain because it's raining now. Let's get inside the fort. But yeah, be careful in the hurricane season, which is during the rainy season, but kind of peaks around now, I believe, especially August, September, October. But they can come before and after that as well. I do know that Puerto Rico was hit by a major hurricane called Maria, I think in 2017, which devastated the island. And when you drive around the island, you'll see a lot of destruction from that, which has still not been repaired yet. So they're still recovering from that. And of course then COVID came after that, so they've taken a few hits to their tourist industry and economy, but hopefully things are getting back to normal now. Here's a reenactment of the sleeping conditions for the soldiers. To be fair, I've actually seen worse looking hostels in my travels. Not that I'd stay in. It's raining again, and let's come through here. I just read that there are 6 levels to this castle, and we have entered at the 6th level at the top, and then the levels go down all the way to the sea, to the lighthouse up there. And let's run up here onto the battlement, and you can see it's a great place to fall off. The sea crashing in to the northwest there. And behind me is this rather unique triangular staircase. Let's have a look at that and see where it goes. Here's a view of the low levels. Coming down through this tunnel, we are now coming down to level 4, I believe. Beautiful views of the Atlantic to the north. You really are walking through a living history here. This castle is actually better known as El Morro. And if you can read that, it says that I am currently standing in the oldest part of the castle, dating back to 1539. After that, the castle was expanded and improved upon with all the latest technologies of the time. And the fortifications were put into practice. This place was invaded by Spain's competing powers, namely the English and the Dutch, who were competing here in the Caribbean. Spain was usually allied with France in this period, though not always. And they had a treaty with Portugal dating back to the discovery of the Americas by Spain and Portugal, whereby the Portuguese would only basically invade the eastern half of the world, and Spain had a monopoly to the west. Treaty of Tordesillas or something. I'll put it on subtitles. And however, the line was agreed upon in the kind of middle of the Atlantic, and later on the Portuguese and Spanish discovered what is now Brazil. Therefore, Portugal had rights to the land that was their side of the line, which incorporated the easternmost parts of what is now Brazil, which is why Brazil still speaks Portuguese to this day. And the Spanish were allowed everything to the west of that, apart from when the Dutch and the English came along and said no. And from here, just beyond the cemetery, you can get a better view of the coastline in front of La Perla, which was the scene of the video for Despacito. So if you're one of the 8 billion people in the world, you may be one of the 8 billion people that have watched that video. Guessing not everyone has watched that video, but which means that clearly some people have been watching it more than once because it's that good. There in the background scene of one of the most famous music videos of all time. I was considering going down there and doing a little video reenactment of Despacito. Being a white, middle-aged British guy, I'm not a huge fan of the reggaeton, believe it or not. So I've decided that no, I will not be doing that categorically. The sun has come out, probably briefly. Just to give you a quick 360 from El Morro. Well, it's nice. I'm now on the west side of the island. There is El Morro in the background and another pillar box. And you can see these fortifications that go all the way around the island, except for the port to the south there. And from here we get a beautiful view of this western gate to the old town, which was once basically the VIP entrance. So visiting dignitaries from Europe would embark the island here. Let's take a little look closer. You can see that beautiful beach here, but for some reason, unfortunately, you're not allowed to swim there, which is a bit of a shame, as it's kind of only beach right on the edge of the old town. But we can walk on the outside of the walls here, so let's carry on. And here we can see the walls of the old town higher up above us. We're on the south side now. This is another museum. No, what is this? Puerto Rico Tourism Company. I was here the other day, and I know that they have fantastic air conditioning, which I'm going to go and use for a few moments. And I know there's a little secret place you can visit through the back here as well. Here's the wall up close. Absolutely huge, especially considering how old it is. If you come through to the back of that tourism company gallery, there's a little secret passage here to Entrada a Calabozos. The old jail cells here. So if you're stuck for somewhere to sleep here in San Juan, little secret, you can come and sleep here in the jail cells. So the city walls finally come to an end here in the south of the island. It's a little bit more modern here. So from here you can get a ferry once an hour over there to the mainland, or the new part of San Juan. There's also a Mexican restaurant here. I was drinking tequila in there yesterday late afternoon because we actually missed the ferry. No, we didn't miss the ferry. We got to the ferry and it was sold out, so we didn't go over to the new town and just drank beer and tequila in there instead. But it's a great place to do it. I recommend that. And if we carry on further up, we will eventually come to the ferry terminal. And as you can see, there is a distinct lack of ferries here right now. I was here yesterday, there was one. The day I arrived, there were two moored up, so I guess the schedules vary. But this is where the day trippers come and check out San Juan for a few hours. As you can see, the streets are pretty quiet, but when the ferries are in here, it's full of the day trippers wandering around town. Here we are in Plaza de Armas, the main plaza of San Juan Old Town. Lots of beautiful historic buildings here. And some more amazing stationary pigeons of Puerto Rico. This is Marshall's department store. I was quite blown away when I visited by the amazing combination of very cheap prices and good quality clothing for all genders. Believe it or not, this is in fact also my first time in the US since the 1990s, when I went there on family holidays. As an adult, I have literally never been to the US until a few days ago, when I flew from London to JFK Airport in New York. I was there for about 6 hours in the middle of the night, taking it all in. and then flew here to San Juan. So yeah, excuse me if my knowledge of the USA is not very big, because this is literally the first time I've been here in decades, and this is probably the least American part of America you could possibly come to. In the 5 days I've been here, it definitely feels to me more of a Latin country, Latino country. Everyone speaks Spanish. They are mostly of Spanish heritage. Obviously, they sadly brought a lot of African slaves here as well, so there's a lot of African, Caribbean, American, Latin, Spanish cultural mix up here. But yes, we are in the USA. There is Wendy's over there, in case you don't believe me. I walked up the south-facing wall that you saw moments ago to this Bastillon. And there's a mysterious guy walking past me. Could possibly be the only other Brit in Puerto Rico right now. Here's a place that claims to be the birthplace of the famous Pina Colada. If you're stupid, you might call it a Pina Colada, but that is incorrect. It is Pina Colada. A little squiggly thing over the N tells you that it is a piña, which means pineapple in Spanish. However, my Spanish is not that good because I don't know what colada means. And here is another bar called Vina de Coleta, I believe. I was here the other day, met all the guys there. Cool bunch of Puerto Rican dudes running that place. So if you're looking for a bit of aircon in the evening and some high quality wines and high quality rums, then definitely check that out. And oops. Further on, let's keep going. One more place here. And then we come to this battlement looking thing, which looks like a dead end. But no, you can in fact walk through here. Excuse me. There we are, it's Calle de Tetuan, that was where we were. In here, what is this? This is this Chapel of Christ the Saviour. Legend traces its origin to a miraculous happening at the site. Without going into any detail. There's the most famous park in Puerto Rico. And finally, here we are. This is Pigeon Park. Do not feed the pigeons outside the park, only in the park. There they are. Again, the incredible stationary pigeons of Puerto Rico. Let's carry on into the middle of the town here, see what we can find. So most of the city, or a lot of the city, is taken up by these pretty high-end stores catering to tourists, most of whom seem to come from the ferries, although it should be said this is September, so this is not the high season, it's hurricane season. I think the winter, the northern winter, December, January is the high season here. It's going to be a lot busier. I'm now walking up the steps of, this is the cathedral. Beautiful view of the plaza opposite. Here is a convent. Let's have a look on my map. This is called Plaza de la Catedral. Good name. So yeah, here is the cathedral. Am I allowed in?
De mi corazón cada rey, hoy te traigo la bendición.
Oldest bar in Puerto Rico, purportedly. I had a drink there on my first night, which I vaguely recall. Walking north now into Plaza San Jose. Beautiful place. There's salsa music in the background. When I came here, I was concerned that this is like reggaeton central and everywhere was going to be reggaeton. But no, you actually hear a lot more salsa music here in Puerto Rico. If only I could salsa. This is called Barrio de Bayaja. So this historical quarter in the northwest of the town. Gallery. We have this cigar-shaped monument here. And well, if we continue down there, you'll come back to El Morro again. And this is Calle San Sebastian. It's the middle of the day now, so there's nobody here, but at night time this is the place to come if you want lots of bars in close proximity to one another. I was here on Saturday night and it was absolutely heaving. Very, very young crowd. It seemed like it was Freshers Week or something. I'm not sure what you call Freshers Week in the US, but in September in the UK, it's when you start college and get very drunk every night. I'm guessing the 21-year-old drinking age in most of the USA does not apply here. So they're out having a good time. I did get one video actually, I'll stick it in now. People. I'm still on Calle San Sebastian. Looking south here, you can see the bay behind where the ferries come in. And here's San Sebastian again. And I'm just gonna walk north now, very quickly. And here we are back on the north side. Again. Just to give you an idea of just how narrow the island is from north to south. And here on the north side of the island, I would say it's a little bit less commercial, more residential. These beautiful old houses. I'm sure they've all been restored fairly recently by the looks of them. They've done a good job keeping the old styles and architecture, just maintaining it. I'm sure it's a very expensive operation at the same time. You do see a lot of for sale signs for these properties. But I'm sure if you want to buy something here, you're gonna have to dig deep into your pockets to the tune of 7 digits in US dollars. Things will not be cheap. Final meal time. I would recommend this place. It's my second meal here. It's called Dia Verdura. And some fantastic local cuisine here. Let's go down. Pulled pork. It's called pernil here. Rice, tostadas.
Tostadas de grapefruit.
Made of grapefruit, not plantain. Nice fish there. Avocado. Loads of sauces. If you're in Puerto Rico, they love this stuff. It's a mixture of tomato ketchup and mayonnaise. Thought I would show you what the island looks like just outside the old town. See, still pretty old buildings here, but getting more modern. This beautiful beach is called Aviation Beach, apparently, because, would you believe, it is just stone's throw away from the international airport. So if you're landing or taking off from the airplane, from the airport, you just fly over this. And then if you come a little bit further east out of San Juan, out of town, come to these immaculate beaches. I guess you could call this Caribbean, but technically this is more Atlantic side on the north of the island. But whatever, these are just words. I'll let the views do the talking. Welcome to El Yunque. This is National Park in Puerto Rico. This is the highest point in Puerto Rico somewhere. And I believe the only rainforest in the whole of the US of A. Here's somewhere called Big Pool with a historic bridge behind it. The park is located on the far east of Puerto Rico. Oops, if you're here. And as you can see from my fingers, I have forgotten my proper camera. Silly me. Just stuck on my mobile today, but hopefully you get some idea. Beautiful little spot, less than an hour's drive to San Juan. So we are going to do a little bit of the trail to Mount Britain. So Britain Tower, is it? Which is up there, you just saw. As you can see, I'm not prepared for it in any way whatsoever, but it's okay. There is a nice concrete trail going up for the time being. So let's see how far we get. So up ahead is the Mount Britain Trail, which is closed at the moment. And then the Yunque Peak Tower is up there somewhere in the cloud forest. A bit higher up now in the cloud forest, approaching the 1,000 meter altitude mark. As you can see, it's all very drippy, moist, very humid. It's not too hot, it's quite comfortable. Just walking as I am in my swimming trunks, like a pro. So I made it to the top of this cloud. This is the Los Picachos viewpoint, close to this tower. What was the tower called? El Yunque Tower in the clouds, as you can see.